Are you having troubles with your bass lines? Perhaps your bass lines lack punch and power, they don't sound clean, and perhaps you feel embarrassed when you play your music in the club. It just doesn't work, it's a complete mess, and everything distorts. Yeah, just doesn't sound clean, doesn't work in the club, and that's quite frustrating, right? That was exactly my situation until just a while ago when I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make my kick and bass sound good on any system, especially in the club. So in this video, I'm gonna teach you how I turned my track from this into this. And it's day and night difference, so much better. So you might be cringing from the first version, but what is really the difference between the first version and the second one, which is mixed? And the answer is really simple. It is dynamic control. Understanding bass dynamics, so low-end dynamics, is the key to achieving clean, punchy, professional, like just nice sounding kick and bass. And I'm gonna teach you everything that you need to know about dynamic control to make your kick and the bass sound great. So for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Vlad. I create superstar music producers. If you're interested in coaching and you want to get my help with your music, start releasing music that you're proud of in 2024 and just see some results with your music, all the links down below. Feel free to book a call. Let's have a chat. I'd be happy to help you with your music. And without further talking, let's get started with the video. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about in this video is going to be dynamic control. Understanding low-end dynamics is crucial if you want to make your tracks sound good in the club and basically on any sound system. And there's going to be two components to that. Number one is the length of the kick and the bass, and number two is going to be the difference in terms of the loudness for the kick and the bass. Let me show you two quite extreme examples. So this is the original one. Unprocessed loop. It just doesn't sound really good, right? So, but it's still okay because I do have the master processing. But if we do like this, we take the same loop and we make the kick too long, like way too long. Even though like I have master processing, a bit of compression and EQ. It's so muddy. It just sounds super weird. But if you listen to this one, which is processed and has proper length for the kick and the bass, right, you can hear both the kick and the bass. So make sure that you don't have too long kick or too long bass. And like, it takes time to understand. Like, and I'll be honest with you, even if you watch this video, you're not gonna be able to do it the way that I do it, because you need to train your ears, you need to play your music in the club. This is in fact the most important thing. That will help you to train your ears and understand how much bass you should have and how long should the kick and the bass be. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is going to be the balance between the kick and the bass. So how loud is the kick and how loud is the bass? So next example, let's mute the click. It sounds okay, especially in the car. Listen to this one. you can hear too long kick just completely destroys the bass. But here, if I don't balance my bass properly, let's say I have it like way too loud, in the car it sounds okay, but you should have a bit of dynamics between the kick and the bass, because if you don't, what's going to happen, you're not gonna give the speaker enough time to go down, like back and forth, right? Because it should bounce, it should vibrate. Like if you make the speaker vibrate like up and down at the same time, like you will get rumble. This is just not really good, okay? So those are the two fundamental things that you have to understand before we dive deep into like any specific techniques and strategies, right? So now I want to talk about the next thing. So now we're gonna go to the meatiest part of this video. So dynamic control chain. This is basically how I set up my chain. I have tested that. I have to test it in the club. But so far, like I tested on different systems, studio monitors in my apartment, different headphones, and this works. So we have the individual channels, the kick, the bass, we have the group channel, and we have the master processing. And during every stage, what's going to happen is we're going to process dynamics of the kick and the bass. So kick, bass we process individually, then we process them together, and then we process them on the master. So let's talk about the kick processing chain. I'll break it down for you why I'm doing all this processing. Like take a look at this. So we first have kick, right? Then we have saturation, compressor 1, compressor 2, EQ, sometimes up to like 2 EQs, maybe 3 EQs. It really depends, right? So the reason why we are doing this is that the most problematic frequency that we have, we just have to control it. And this is so, so important, right? So this is the fundamental like 60, 70 hertz. And what you hear in headphones is quite often just misleading. You cannot hear the bass frequencies in the same way as you hear them in the club. And in fact, like even I, like still, I may not be able to get the balance right, like with my first attempt. So I need to go like to the club, test it, and then again, but I'll try to give you the best strategies for that, right? So understand this. The reason for so much processing is that it's just so much energy that we have in our sub-frequencies, right? When you control the sub-frequencies, then you have a good sound mix at the end of the day, right? So here, this is the kick. I'm going to explain every single part of the process here. Keep in mind that I still have a bit of processing on the master, but we can disable that. And this is how the kick sounds on its own. You already heard that, so not going to be a huge revelation. But here we go. So this is the kick. So let's go step by step. Number one is going to be saturation, and I'm not going to be diving too deep into every single of them. I'm just going to explain the bird's eye view, and the rest you have to figure out yourself, because otherwise the video will be like 1 hour long. But basically, I'm splitting the kick into 2 bands to add a bit of distortion to control the dynamics, because I want to smooth the dynamics a little bit, right? So without this one, it becomes like way too loud. But by adding a bit of distortion, you make the kick slightly more like packed and tight. The second step is going to be a bit of compression, and I have a slide for that too. So you can use, I'm using the compressor as an EQ. I made it compress certain frequencies to control the dynamics of the kick. So basically what is happening here, I have 2 compressors, so I'll explain that. You can see that I'm making compressor react to the sub, right? So everything about like 130, something like that, a little bit more, and that helps to control the sub. Again, not going to dive into all individual frequencies. Focus on the approach, focus on the big picture. Like I cannot like just give you the ultimate recipe, like formula. You have to train your ears, and as I said, like most of you will not get it after watching this video. You have to practice, practice, practice. Right? I know that the loudness right now of the kick, it has become quieter, but that's what I need, right? I'm using the compressor as an EQ. That's the biggest revelation that happens to me lately. Compressor could be an equalizer with attack and release timing. So it can be really flexible when it comes to that, right? So compressor number 1, it reacts to, like, I boosted the subs to compress that area, so 6.44. The next one is going to be a bit different. So you can see I am compressing the thump of the kick a little bit more, right? And then the fundamental frequency of the kick. So you can see there's a lot of difference in terms of the loudness. Again, let's not talk about the details of the processing, right? So two compressors right now. So let's go back. So compressor 1 with fast attack, fast release to kind of make it tighter. Compressor 2 to work with the RMS, like the overall loudness, not the peaks. And then I do have an EQ, and I'm putting EQ after the compressor, because if you compress, if you put an EQ first and then you compress it, you're basically just canceling what you just did with the compressor. So this is why I'm compressing first, right? So the kick, you can hear now, sounds slightly tighter. It's way more controlled. And I know, like in solo, like it's not gonna sound too good. And after that, I have analog EQ. So here I am cutting a little bit of like low mids, 360, and that's it. 360, 700. I'm cutting that, and that's pretty much it, right? So that's the final kick. This is how it sounds. So now let's talk a little bit about the bass processing. So the bass processing is pretty complicated, but it will really depend on the character of the bass. Sometimes it is very simple. Sometimes it is very, very complicated. So in this example, again, let's go one by one. So we have bass, saturation, compressor 1, compressor 2, sidechain, compressor 3, limiter, EQ. Quite a lot, but as long as it sounds good, I'm like, fuck the rules. Like, if it sounds good, it sounds good. That's what I do, right? I am telling you this because this is something that I have tested, and I'm not like, I'm not saying that I'm like a super professional mixing and mastering engineer. Like, I'm constantly learning and trying to find new ways how to make my music sound better. And this is something that I discovered lately. So with the bass, let's first do just the sidechain. Okay, so just the sidechain. Let's go to the bass here. I'm gonna disable all the processing here. So just the sidechain. You can hear that the bass needs more control. It's a little bit too loud. So number 1, saturation. Again, the same logic. I'm adding a bit of crunch with the top end saturation. And here, you can play with dynamics of the sound, so it will really depend, but just pay attention to the logic, right? So we have multi-band saturation for controlling the sub, kind of warming up the subs a little bit. Then we have a compressor, and it is the same logic as with the kick, right? So we have, again, you can see I'm making the bass react to the fundamental frequencies a little bit more. So it becomes more tight, it becomes a little bit more packed. But that's not it, right? So here you can see pretty heavy compression. So don't be afraid to compress the sound a lot. That's also something that I realized. If you want to get your music loud, okay? And then what we are doing is we have another compressor. So this one has a bit longer attack. And here you can play with the attack and release. But basically, first compressor, fast attack, catching the transients. The second one, slow attack to kind of smooth the overall dynamics of the sound. And after that, the reason why I'm putting sidechain after I do some compression is because Ableton has this freaking annoying problem. It cannot work with the delay. So I first compress this. I would put sidechain at the end of the processing chain, and then, right, like after all the compression, I mean, all the processing. But I'm just forced to do it because the next plugin, the next compressor, is giving me some delay, and if I do that, it's just going to sound super weird. You see, they become, you can hear this like a micro delay here, which is not nice. So first, it's like I have to put the sidechain somewhere like in the middle of the chain, because those plugins that I have, they give me pretty much just like zero latency. Like that's actually latency, not delay, excuse me. Okay, so here we have spectral sidechain. This is not the regular one. This is spectral. So it reacts to the certain frequencies on the kick, the fundamental ones, right? And then it pushes the bass down. So it's a little bit more intelligent. But I also combine that with the regular volume shaper to give it that nice pumping feeling, right? After that, I'm controlling the sub of my bass, right? So you can hear certain bass notes, they trigger the compressor, right? So here again, fast release, fast attack, make it tight. So don't be afraid to compress, because it's better to over compress it a little bit, play it in the club, and then like go back. So some of the notes are really tight. And there's already quite a big of a difference, right? If we go on to my master channel, and we play it in the... So we go back and we disable this stuff with just the sidechain. Yeah, you can hear there's so much difference in here. Okay, so we worked a little bit on this one. After that, I have a limiter to kind of just limit the peaks of the bass line. That's all this thing does. So you can see we are peaking at -30. Because otherwise, like, we have this 60 dB of peaks, which again, this will not allow you to get a good and loud mix, basically. All right. And after that, a little bit of EQ in here, just to address one. It is a little bit too boomy, as you can hear, especially in the car. So I just tested this thing in the car, and in the car it just sounded weird without this cut. Again, this is not like the ultimate formula. This is more like the logic that you should use if you want to get your mix sound good. So you have slightly more space for the kick to move. Again, don't forget the physics. So the speaker goes like back and forth. It should vibrate like up and down. If it vibrates at the same time, like up and down, it's going to be a miss, right? And yeah, that's it. Here I have erosion just, you know, at the end to give it this cool sound. So that's it for the individual processing. Now, let's talk about the group low bus processing chain. This one is much simpler, but again, it will depend on the sound that you have, because sometimes I can be like pretty relentless when it comes to processing my sound. Okay, so saturation, multi-band compression, compressor 1, compressor 2. So let me show you what good group processing can do to your kick and the bass. So this is just the kick and the bass, right? After some individual processing. So here, if we do just saturation, it's giving that nice punch to the sound and glues that a little bit together. Then the next thing is going to be multi-band compressor. Again, to to make this sub a little bit more controlled. You can see how much compression I'm doing to the sub. And like the reason to that is the sub has so much energy that you just have to control it. Like if you don't, like you already heard what will happen to a kick and the bass. It's going to be like a huge miss, right? So here we have this one, multi-band compressor. Then we have another compressor. This one is really soft. It is not doing a lot. You could push it a bit more. Then we have another one. This one is also pretty soft because we already compressed the kick and the bass, so we don't need to do this much, right? pretty good, right? So if I disable the real phones, so just nice, clean. I went for this really clean sounding low end. So if I play the whole thing now, the whole mix, everything is perfect. So the instruments, they have so much space to breathe because I control the dynamics. So yeah, everything is so nice. Everything is so clean. I absolutely love it. Okay. And finally, let's talk a little bit more about the master processing. I will not cover like the mastering here, but just like the basic understanding. So what I'm doing with the EQ is, again, you can see I'm reducing the sub, because it has so much energy that it's basically just not going to work if you don't do this thing. So just take a listen. There's so much difference. So we do like this. You can hear that the sub kind of like takes so much space in the track, but when we apply dynamic EQ to the master, it starts to move and the whole track just gets that nice sounding groove. Right? And we can test that on a different system. So for example, this one, let's disable the EQ. One more time. Can you become a bit smaller? Yeah, so here we go. This sub just takes so much space in the track. And then I'm using one more thing. This is again the multi-band compressor. So what I'm doing here, I'm compressing this sub and I'm expanding the punch a little bit. I think it should be a bit louder, but wait, I think this is the another one. Let's go back. Again, dynamic control on this sub, and here expand on the mid lows to give it punch. And here we go. Like, it sounds good. It sounds great. So I know it was a lot. But if you follow the logic, right? If you understand what every single thing does, and the biggest takeaway from this video, guys, is control your freaking sub. If you don't do it in the right way, it's just not gonna sound good. So let's do the final test with all the system, just so I'm able to show you how good it sounds. And I did the mix on the headphones, no speakers like at all. Really good. I'm gonna disable the master here. So even though I did quite a lot of compression, quite a lot of processing during the mixing process, the master, it still plays a huge role. So keep that in mind. Okay, so let's do a bit more. Let's do a bit more testing, and then I'm going to wrap up the video, and that's going to be it. Pay attention how the instruments start to breathe, just because we have this low end space for the low end for the of the instruments. to in the car. Like, I just love when I can get my mix to sound right. Yeah, and then after you do this thing, you can always boost the sub like a little bit during the mastering process. Okay, so that's going to be it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope everything is making sense. If something is unclear, just comment below. I'll answer any of your questions. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.